fiasco surrounding the unresolved payment of social grants deepened. In the latest move, as you saw, the Constitutional Court wants full details of disclosure of the new contract between Cash Paymaster Services and the Social Security Agency, Sassa. The court previously declared the current contract invalid, but it was allowed to run its course to ensure that payouts to the poor were not interrupted. Sassa has since failed to find a new partner to pay grants from April of this year. Now, the Black Sash is taking Sassa to the Constitutional Court to make sure that social grants are paid come April the 1st. Now, in Cape Town, we are joined by the Black Sash, their advocacy manager, Elroy Paulus. A very good morning to you, Elroy. Thank you for joining us here on Newsroom today.
Good morning, Evan. Thank you for having us.
Elroy, what do you say with regards to the latest move by the Chief Justice on the new CPS Sassa deal?
Okay, so yesterday the Constitutional Court instructed the Sassa on deadlines, timelines, on the many questions that portfolio committees in Parliament, civil society organizations, interested parties wanted to know. So when I read the directions by the Chief Justice that this information needs to be supplied by 4 o'clock on Monday next week, I jumped for joy, because the very question about how much the deal will cost, the nature of the contract between Cash Paymaster Services and Sassa, is the crux often of many of our struggles in showing the transparency on an already unlawful, invalid contract that has run its course. It's ending on the 31st of March. 1 in 3 people in South Africa, 17 million Sassa beneficiaries, are anxiously waiting on how this is going to pan out. There's been many initiatives, both in the judiciary and in the legislature, that seeks to find clarity. Now, unlike the earlier newscast about PRASA, it is important for the viewers to remember that Sassa is not a state-owned company or an entity. It is a Schedule 3A public entity subject to the Constitution and 100% owned by the state. The Department of Social Development, after Treasury gives them our taxpayers' money, which this year is about 150 billion rand, transfers this money for grant distribution to Sassa. Sassa has a budget of about 7 billion, and on the 22nd of February, that money was apportioned over the medium-term expenditure framework and allocated for an outsourced service as a baseline allocation to make sure that grants are paid. The judgment, the directions given by the Chief Justice Mogoeng is an important intervention by the highest law decision maker, the judiciary in our country, because it demands that this information that was kept hidden for so long will be made public once it is responded to by Sassa, hopefully by the deadline of 4 o'clock, because the time is ticking. We've got less than a month before people will know what their fate is.
As the Black Sash, what are your fears that will come out of, firstly, the deal, but also what will happen in the next couple of weeks?
Thank you, Evan. When we submitted our papers on the 28th of February, we asked that the court ensures that no harm is caused to the grant payment system or to Sassa beneficiaries. We have been very concerned and deeply passionate about the fact that the hardship already caused as a result of the nature of the bank account established, set up by 3 entities, namely Sassa, Cash Paymaster Services, and Grindrod Bank. Even though the money is paid into the grant beneficiary's account, there are court papers with evidence confirmatory affidavits of people who have suffered untold hardship, of deductions of airtime, electricity, loans at high administrative and interest costs, insurance deductions that is outside of the law. Several laws, the South African Social Assistance Act, Financial Advisory and Intermediary Services Act, and the Sassa Act. So the fear is that once the grants are paid, will harm be caused, and for the last 2 years, we've kept the story in the limelight, but also worked with affected persons so that they could speak truth to power themselves. And their stories are very, very heartbreaking to hear and see and experience. Because the real danger here is that the gains made by the state since 1996 will be reversed by extractive, exploitative practices of some companies, third parties that have access to this bank account without consent of the beneficiary. And that, for example, the Millennium Development Goal 1, dealing with extreme poverty, will, despite the gains made, be rolled back. So we are at a very tenuous point in our history, but I am heartened at the same time that the response by civil society, by people, the oversight, the interest in oversight, both in the judiciary and the legislature, is at a tipping point and unprecedented.
That's it. You have 1 minute to tell me, what is your expectation then from the Constitutional Court when it sits on Wednesday next week?
When the Constitutional Court sits on Wednesday the 15th, we are all sitting on the edges of our seats, Eben, to know what the court will instruct. We've applied as an applicant. Tomorrow, no, the day after tomorrow, Friday, the heads of arguments have to be tabled. There's the usual court procedures of applicants and respondents responding so that the proper court rules can apply, which is my understanding through our legal representatives, which is the Center for Applied Technologies, CALS. And what is imperative is that the judge gives us the assurance, the Chief Justice gives us the assurance that as they have instructed and given directions yesterday, that their decisions will balance the importance of Section 27 rights entrenched in our Constitution, as well as this contract issue, which in our view is secondary to the right of access to social security and social assistance. Quickly,
how do you view the fact Concourt has come out and she says that they won't oppose the application? How do you view that quickly?
So, sorry, who said they won't oppose?
Concourt, the Social Development Department.
We are very heartened by that decision.
Thank you very much, Elroy. Nice to talk to you today. Elroy, Paulus is the advocacy manager of the Black Sash. Of course, they are the ones that have approached the Constitutional Court in this matter with Sassa and the Social Development